YouTube disclaimer. This video is pure fantasy fiction, not to be taken as a statement of fact, for entertainment purposes only. Hi there, my name is Toby, and on this channel I talk about the internal body dynamics, I talk about the energy, the chi, the life force, and also talk about science. I talk about ether physics. It's a very different approach to science. This is Tesla's science, and it's also very similar to ancient Taoist philosophy. So it's very, very important science that has been neglected and ignored, but it should not have been. And today I want to talk about something interesting. I want to talk about telepathy and telekinesis. So these are mysterious things that are to do with the force, because that's what I'm talking about here. The chi, the ether, that is the force in Star Wars. It's the same thing. And in fact, it's pretty much correct what is being said in Star Wars. Because in that movie, apparently the story was taken from very ancient texts. So the story was, it had some connection to ancient texts, even to the Bible. And the Jedi is a real word. Yoda is a real word. These are real sort of things coming from historical texts. So it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. So the idea of the force is the real deal. I should be able to move something. So here's a candle. I should be able to move that candle flame at the very least. But why is it we can't do it? The same with telepathy. How does that work? And now modern science thinks they understand telepathy. They can have a computer read your mind. Oh, that's telepathy. Well, it's a type of telepathy, but not really. You see, we're talking to each other. You could think that's telepathy. I'm using my mind to create words. Those words go through the air. You hear those words, they go into your brain, get back into your mind. We're still sort of communicating mind to mind, but through words. And there's a higher level to that, the brain. The brain is emitting radio waves, frequencies. So I'm emitting radio waves as I'm thinking. Your brain picks up radio waves. So maybe your brain picks up the radio wave directly. Oh, I'm picking up your thoughts. That's another level of telepathy. But that's still not real telepathy. Real telepathy is on another level above all of that. You see, you've got to understand there's two things in the universe, metaphysics and physics. Metaphysics is the soul, the spirit. It's not physical. It has no connection to physical reality. It's totally different. It's not electromagnetism. It's different. It's the ether, it's the chi, it's an unmanifest force. It's the pure field, the underlying field of everything. It's infinite energy. Infinite energy. When it becomes electromagnetism, it's now finite. These things are finite energy, finite objects, finite energy moving around. So telepathy, the real one, is going to happen in the ether, in the chi. Is outside the brain. Okay, if you're going to communicate with a spirit, a psychic will communicate with a ghost, a spirit. That spirit has no brain, has no body, has no electromagnetic waves, not emitting radio waves. A computer could not read a spirit, not necessarily, unless the spirit was trying to influence the computer. We'll come to that. But telepathy on this higher level, that's the real one. That's the real one. You're talking soul to soul or spirit to spirit. It's nothing to do with the brain. Nothing to do with the brain at all. So that's perfectly possible. And mostly telepathy might happen in your dreams. Because when you go into the dreams, when you're sleeping, you go into a dream state, you're going deep into the subconscious and the unconscious mind. And energy is feeding back to you. You're seeing images. It's information coming to you, unraveling information, blocked energy in your body, and it speaks to you in images, archetypes. And sometimes you get messages from other people. You have an interaction. You pick up someone else's energy. And that you appear in the dream. Someone talks to you in your dream. But that's not brainwaves. That is the spirit. That's metaphysics. And that's the one we should be working on. That's the most powerful one because it's outside space and time. Doesn't matter how far away someone is. I know people talk about it. You could communicate with an alien race, 10, 100,000 million light years away. It's so far away. But yet through this telepathy, through spirit, it doesn't make any difference. Now, whether you believe that or not is another thing. And whether it's true or not as well, it doesn't even matter. If you are communicating with an alien race a trillion light years away, is that alien race or that being you're communicating with any good? Is he clever or not? He still might be just telling you rubbish, nonsense. Just because it's an alien doesn't mean anything. We have to have our own awareness, our own understanding. There is no one above us. We've got to get it ourselves. We don't need to even listen to these so-called aliens, unless they know what they're talking about. And we have a listen. All right, oh, okay, that's interesting information. I see your point. Anyway, that's an aside. And telekinesis is the other one, the force. Now, you see, I'm moving several things. I have got electromagnetism in my body, but I've got chi, ether. That is metaphysics. That energy is the life force. That's not detectable physically. It's not detectable physically. So this candle, I'm projecting chi, but it's not picking it up. It's not moving. Now, in theory, if I could build up electromagnetism, an actual field, then the field of electromagnetism might affect the candle, but a magnet doesn't really do much to a flame anyway. So a magnet won't do much to a flame. So even if I could use magnetic field, it's not going to do much. It's not going to do much. What I actually have to do is create a wind, an air. Oops, blew it out. So you can have an ionizer, a burst of electric ions, negative ions, that will move the flame. So in theory, I might be able to project an electric current out of here, ions, and they might just move the flame. But to actually move an object, see, for me to knock this crystal over, this heavy thing, just with a force, the only force that could knock this over is electromagnetism, because that is the only force. There is only one physical force. It's electromagnetism. There is not a mysterious psychic force. There's not a second force that I could knock this over. There is only electromagnetism. For me to use force to knock this over, I'd have to create so much electromagnetic energy. I mean, we're thinking in terms of one of these MRI scanners, maybe 10 MRI scanners. The power of 10 MRI scanners might have the force to knock over this, because it's not magnetic. You see, if moving another magnet, yeah, maybe, but this is not magnetic, so it requires a colossal magnetic force to move. It has to magnetize this and then move it. So there is no psychic force. But here's the thing. We are both metaphysical beings. We're living inside this psychic force. Now, this psychic force does not have a direct physical effect, but I translate it down. I translate it into electromagnetism. So that's chi healing. You know, I can actually push. So I use an acupuncture point with my finger. I actually channel electricity into this point. So me, the force, the metaphysical chi is going, but I'm using that chi to control the electricity and even increase the electricity. So that is a sort of telekinesis. The soul is controlling the electromagnetic field, and the electromagnetic field controls the material world. So we do have telekinetic powers, but they're very subtle. I can make very slight changes in the electromagnetic field. So this is how it works. The soul is non-physical, and it just affects the brain waves. It makes tiny little changes in the electromagnetic field in the brain. And the brain can amplify these tiny little changes. It amplifies them, and they go to the muscles in the body and make the body move. So the soul is employing telekinetic powers to move the body. So I could argue, I lifted my arm up. Well, that's telekinesis. The soul, non-physical, is directly moving something physical. So that is telekinesis, strictly speaking. But to be able to do this, boom, and knock that over, it won't work. Now, you might be able to do it to another person. So again, you throw a ball of chi and they go flying. But it's not actual electromagnetism. It's still metaphysical. And it will only work if they sort of see it. They have to believe it. So you throw, if I were to say, do this, boom, and you, oh, I feel it, I fall back. you see me do it and you believe it so much that it affects your soul, affects your metaphysical soul. So you think it's happened. And because you believe it's happened, it goes into your body and makes you fall back. But if you're skeptical, and I do this to you, you just stand there. What was that? What's that supposed to do? It won't work. It only works on a susceptible person. It's hypnosis. So you have something called hypnosis kung fu, which looks like telekinesis, but it's not. It's just mind control. And you might have subtle manipulations of the aura. Very subtle manipulations of the aura. So it appears like telekinesis. But really, mind control is still telekinesis. It's equivalent to, in Harry Potter, you had the 3 curses. You had the imperious curse, where you make someone do what you want. That's the imperious curse. So that's hypnosis. I make someone else do what I want. I want to knock that crystal over just with force. I can't do it, but I can hypnotize someone else to come over and knock it over. Now that's like telekinesis. I've controlled their mind to control their body to make them knock that crystal over. So we do have telekinesis, and we most certainly do have telepathy, but not to get excited about it. It's not a big deal. Neither one is a big deal. Modern science thinks they've discovered telepathy. They haven't. It's nothing. It's just reading brainwaves. There's nothing to it. So thank you very much for listening to this little lecture. I hope it made sense. Please do leave any comments or questions below. And I look forward to seeing you in any of these other videos here.